hope you got the questions.
I didn't
got
really...
the answers.
Well, then I had better think of some really tough questions, the hard-hitting questions. This is my grandma. Say hi, Grandma.
Hi, Grandma.
That's my grandma. And she is going to be 98 next month. And sorry about that. I am up in Alaska visiting her, and so we are outside in the backyard right now, and so I apologize if it's a little noisy. There's a airplane flying by, I guess, and there's mosquitoes, so if you see us hit each other, you know, it's an Alaskan thing.
It's Alaska.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so the reason why I am here with my grandma is because not only is she awesome, but she is also an author. So, Grandma, what is the name of the book that you wrote?
It's called Udder Confusion.
Okay, and what is it about?
It's about homesteading in 1950.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we came up in 1950, but we actually went out on the homestead in 1954.
Nice. And
we took 160 acres of raw wooded land and turned it into a 100-acre cleared land grade A dairy, which was a lot of work.
I remember my dad always saying that the cows always had to be milked right when the Mickey Mouse Club was on.
No, no, I don't remember that.
Well, of course you wouldn't, but he
No.
remembered. But so Grandma wrote this collection of stories and published it into a book. And where can you get this book?
You can get it from me.
Get it from you. Okay. So you can also get it off of Amazon. Did you know that?
Yes, I knew that.
Okay. So Amazon, or get it directly from you.
If they get it directly from me, then I get a commission.
Ah.
Big commission.
Okay. So Grandma gets a commission if you order it from her, which means that adds to my inheritance.
I'm going to try to spend it.
I'll get all $5.
My address, what about my address?
Oh,
or
well,
they contact you?
They would contact me because we
Okay.
wouldn't put your address out on YouTube.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So can you share with us maybe your favorite story from Udder Confusion?
Oh boy, there's so many of them.
Or maybe, how about this? There's that noisy airplane. Tell us, why is the book called Udder Confusion?
Okay, in 1950s, Wasilla was starting to grow fast, and they knew that sooner or later they'd have to bypass the town so that everybody didn't have to go through town. So they had the Department of Transportation had a meeting, and all the people from the community could attend and give their opinions. So somebody said, so they asked them, well, what's going on with the legislature? And the man says, it's just utter confusion every time it comes up. It's UTTER.
Mm-hmm.
So I poked my husband in the ribs and I says, utter confusion, that's the name of our dairy.
Which is a perfect name.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And we had a big sign made, put out beside the road, and we had very many tourists, such as it was in them days, take pictures of that. So it's been in magazines, and eventually it's going to end up in the Wasilla Museum, I understand.
Yep. We're going to donate that sign to the museum, which will be awesome. Yeah. So that's how Udder Confusion got its name, and that and many stories are in the book. Yeah. Any advice that you would give to people who watch this channel? It's all people who love to read. So what kind of advice would you give to readers, or maybe people who want to write a book or anything like that?
Well, I've had many people tell me, well, I don't know anything to write about, or I can't write, and all them excuses. And they think they have to be perfect writers. So I say, okay, before we had all this now modern technology like nowadays, I said, what did you do? Well, we wrote letters. I said, just pretend you're writing a letter back home, you know.
So you're telling the story to a friend.
Right.
Yeah.
Same, it's very easy. And if the language isn't perfect English, so what? It's your style. And nobody's going to say, well, I'm not going to read that book because she didn't do that. You know.
Yeah. Well, and that's something that I like about your book, and that's something that I also like about, so my grandpa also wrote collection of, you know, life stories as well. And that's not an official published book. It's just stories that exist in our family. But something I like about his stuff as well is that he used the words and the way he spoke.
That's what you're doing.
And so I can hear your voice when I read the stories, or I
right.
can hear Grandpa's voice when I read the stories.
Keep it personal, right.
Yeah. So I think that's an important thing, a good tip, especially when you're doing memoir style.
Right, because you're not writing for a professional English teacher, you know.
Right.
Nobody's going to criticize it. Although you do work with a little bit with an editor.
Yeah.
And they'll take care of most of the obvious things. She'll say, well, understand, talk more about this so people know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
They will tell you sometimes to explain a certain word or a certain incident that most people wouldn't know about. That will happen with an editor. But otherwise, they usually leave it alone.
Yeah.
Except for grammatical errors, of course.
Yeah, I read a book recently, also set in Alaska, and they used a couple of words. It was for my book club, and they used a few words that I realized my book club probably wouldn't know what they were. Like the author talked about bunny boots.
Yeah.
And my book club all just thought that was like snow boots or winter boots, and so I had to explain that it was a very specific type of boots, you know, and it was important to the story of what these boots were and why it was embarrassing for the character to have to wear them, because they were not fashionable boots. So, but it's little stuff like that you know, someone might tell you expand. They might not know.
I've had to do that too. I've had to explain a few things, and so did Grandpa. In fact, more than me. And it does help, although you don't have to attend some writing classes. And you listen to other people's stories, and it gives you ideas, and it perks you up, and it encourages you.
Yeah.
And you have to have the assignment when you go to class to read your story the next week. Otherwise, you probably won't do it.
Yeah. So you've done two different styles of things. So like, I think you used to attend some writing classes at the college, like at the community college, right?
No, I never did. We had a writing class, just a bunch of people getting together.
Right, just the one that like my mom and dad went to and stuff too.
Right.
Okay, I thought you went to some writing classes at the community college too. Okay, so the writing class that she's talking about, it started back in the 80s, because I think actually my mom was one of the original.
She started.
She started it. And so a group of friends in the area would all get together, and every week they would just share a story that they had written that week. And instead of writing their life story from like birth and working all the way through, you just wrote whatever you felt like writing about that week. You know, it might have been about, you know, homesteading, or it might have been when you were, you know, first time you went to school or whatever.
Right. You put it together later.
Yeah. And then, you know, put it in the right order later.
And if you go to a class and you hear other people's stories, and that'll encourage you. Well, I forgot about that. That happened to me, blah, blah, blah. See?
And then you say, write it down and come back next week and tell us about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. So there's a tip for you. If you want to write something, get together with a group of friends and start a writing club. Yeah. I know I've been really lucky because you and Grandpa and Mom and Dad all went to that writing class. So I have life stories
That you would have got otherwise.
that I wouldn't have otherwise, yeah, which is pretty awesome. So, all right. Is there anything else you want to share about your book?
I can't really think of anything right now.
Okay.
You'll enjoy it. It's humorous.
Yes.
Times were tough, and we worked hard. We didn't have any money. We made do with what we had. There was no credit cards. If we didn't have it, we went without. It's a different lifestyle now than it was then.
Yeah. Use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without.
Right.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Bye, everyone.